This is a video to demonstrate how to create the toolpath for the open pocket, which is on the side of the Titan 1M part. So we're still going to go ahead and use the pocket command in this, standard 2D pocket, but we're going to have to determine that it's an open pocket with open sides and how our entry and exits are going to occur. When we look at this pocket, in the past pocket we've chosen the floor, but this floor of the pocket is got some anomalies here in its geometry where it follows a chamfer out here. And this isn't a good edge to try to set up as a tool path. So what we can do though is we can go up here where we have a nice smooth edge already defined, save us the trouble of creating one, and we can use this edge and then define the depth of the pocket in a new manner that we haven't previously done. Okay, so what we're going to do is go ahead to the pocket command, and I don't want to be in 3D, I want to be in my face mode, and I want to actually be down here in edge mode so that I can choose an edge. So what I'm going to do is go ahead here and I'm just going to kind of select all the way around here each of these edges very carefully. If you pick a wrong edge, you can select it again, it will deselect it, or you can come over here to unselect the last edges or unselect all. So once we've got those selected, we can go ahead and hit the check mark and go into the pocket, and this is fine. We're in pocket, everything looks okay here, nothing to change. Go to our tool, make sure we're going to use that 3/8 tool again. So we're going to apply that. We're going to go to cut parameters here, and this is where we're going to make some adjustments. I'm going to make sure that we adjust the pocket to be a open type pocket, and you can see what the graphic it shows us here, that the toolpaths can now exceed the boundary of the part as they leave and re-enter through into a pocket. Next thing we want to do is make sure, again, we're not going to leave any material on the walls when we're done. We're only going to do this once. We're going to set this to use open pocket cutting method and turn off the standard pocket for closed chains. We don't have a closed chain, so that one wouldn't really matter, but I'll just deselect it because we're not using standard pocket at all. We have an open chain. That's what we did when we chose those edges. Next thing I want to do is go down here to roughing and see what we've got set up there. And I think everything's going to be fine here in roughing. We've got a nice tight corner in there that's still going to allow us, remember, to get into that 195 inside radius. And if we check our print one more time, we can see this is the 195 right here that we're talking about. And it's much like these others. So we really have to poke our tool up in there, our 3/8 tool, in order to get in there and touch that. So further on, entry motion of roughing, we're not going to mess with that. We'll worry about that on finishing. On the finishing, I'm putting a 030 wall thickness of finishing stock, and so we're gonna make sure we have that there. Machine the finish pass. Remember we did this before. We're gonna just make sure our finish pass only goes around once. It won't do pecking depths as we do the finish. We'll only do the pecking depths on the roughing command because there isn't too much there left to do. 30 thousandths. Our lead in, lead out, this is something we might have to contend with later. We're going to see how this works right now with just this setting. And then depth of cuts. Okay, so our depth of cuts, this is referring mostly back to that rough end because this is the one we're going to do 1/8 inch depths. This isn't much, but it's what we'll work with right now, and we can make adjustments to this as we think our machining is going. So linking parameters is where it's going to get kind of important. We want to make sure we're going to absolute. You can set the feed plane to absolute also, and then we'll set the depth here. So this is the one we want to work on, and what we're going to do is go down here to associative, and this button right here will allow us to go in and literally choose the depth that we're interested in. So just find a point. I'll just use any one of these intersection points where there's a vertex there, and that's defined. You don't see the number appear yet, but it will later, and you can go ahead and hit the check mark then. So here's kind of the geometry we're seeing, and this looks really nice because it looks like it's following the curve as it exits here. We'll look at this in a top plane, and we should be able to see the finish pass, and there's the finish pass. And what we really want to know is that we're exiting and entering and leaving a nice smooth edge there from our other machining that we did when we contoured the part. So we're going to watch this video, this simulation. We'll go ahead to choose all paths, and run the verifier. Zoom this out a little bit. We'll start it. Pretty fast. That's okay. This pocket takes a little while. I'll let that run. Maybe slow it down just a little bit. Okay. Now here comes the finished pass all the way around. Put a nice edge in there. And the next part, okay, so we're going to take this one real slow. And there's our stepping in and stepping down both with our tool for the roughing. And at the end we should see one nice finish pass that puts that. And we can come in here and see what kind of surface we got. We didn't get any gouges. We have a nice edge here and all the way around. So real happy with that, the way that turned out. Again, there's some other adjustments we could make. We could make some changes to the lead in and lead out. If we really wanted to make sure that we're exiting in a greater length, we go to our finish lead out, and we can increase the length of this lead in to 120% and the lead out to 120%. That should just lengthen these values. We'll regenerate the toolpath, and when we look at that here in the top view again, here we can see that this kind of strikes a little bit beyond where we were before, and so we should have almost a safer lead out on that. I'll run this one more time. I'll run it a lot faster here, and we'll run it step through it this time. That one, and through the pocket, and then we'll let this one run. That looks nice. Okay. So that is a good way to put an open pocket on something. We're using the edge command for selecting our chain. We're using the edge up here on the top. And we're defining the depth down here rather than to try to deal with this irregular surface down here that we've got. Okay. We'll finish up with the hole making in another video.